Okay, I'd like to call this joint meeting of the Boards of Education, Sac Community School, and WLBA in order. Welcome everyone who is here. We're here tonight to kind of review the past year. We'll have reports from the superintendent, middle school and high school principals. I don't see the elementary principal on here, but you going to say something, are you? No. I'm not on there. The activities director. So at this time, I think I'll turn it over to Ms. Krudoff.
In your packets, if you're in the audience, we're looking at these pages of slides to start for tonight. Much of what's in here will not be new to you. I'll go through it rather quickly and answer questions. You can either jump in and ask me some questions, or I will answer them at the end. As you all know, we began the 2007-8 school year in whole grade sharing with the 5th through 8th grade at Sac City, 9th through 12th grade at Lakeview, and both Sac City and Wall Lake each having an elementary building, which is preschool through 4th grade. Some kind of major areas of what went on this last year. Staff during the school year, all staff in the 5th through 12th grade are shared, and you would all expect that because you understand that. All coaches and activity directors are shared. Other shared positions through this school year have been elementary art, music, and PE are all partially shared. A half-time curriculum director, a full-time technology director, an activities director, middle school and high school principals, human resources management, and I call it that because I need to get in the habit of calling it that. That's what the State Department refers to it as. That would be the payroll position that John Kraft shares between the two districts, and the superintendent. All licensed staff have current licenses and or endorsements for their teaching assignment, and I'm not sure if you can appreciate that, but at the administrative level, that's a big accomplishment for us when we were moving some teachers around. And we've had a number of teachers that have worked on endorsements and degrees, and we appreciate that. So that's a positive for us. It's kind of small print, but you can take a look at the 07-08 staff versus the 08-09, and I just listed the number of licensed staff, nurses, food service, and I combined everything. So transportation, and you can read through that list that you probably already looked at. You can see under associates that we've used 4 full-time or part-time associates. And at the principal level, we moved from 4 principals to 3, as you're well aware. The note at the bottom, beginning in the 08-09 school year, the districts will share an elementary principal and a transportation director. And those are all called functional positions at the Department of Ed, and those are some other places where we can generate some shared dollars because of sharing those positions between the two districts. Next page, facilities. Middle school had 284 students through most of the year. As you can well imagine, we've got kids coming and going, but I picked a date when I had enrollment for every one of the buildings, and it was in about March. And so in March, that was what it looked like. The elementaries, both of them, Sac and Wall Lake Auburn, include preschool. So in the preschool enrollment, remember there are some 4-year-olds, so those wouldn't be state students, but every year we have a few 5-year-olds in the preschool program as well. But we were looking at total number of bodies in the buildings. So elementary at Sac City had 198 students, high school 314, elementary at Wall Lake 208. Just a note, each district maintains their own facilities. And the one thing we did do in common in all the buildings was some new signage and Raider logos that were added to each of the facilities. Under finance, and this really got small print in it. Each district maintains separate business offices and financial accounts. I think you know that as board members. That's still quite confusing to many community members. It's kind of confusing to the Department of Ed. Because we have conversations almost weekly asking about something or filing reports, and it's just so hard for them to figure out who we really are. Food service accounts are joint to provide the best service to communities. That was done so that when you drop money into an account, and no matter what building you have kids in, that money can be equally distributed, and we wanted to make sure that the food service was seamless and we weren't writing checks to particular buildings, and we weren't going to worry about that. And we had guidance from the Department of Ed related to that, as well as through both of our business business offices. Expenses like salaries, supplies, materials for all 5th through 12th grade classes and activities are split on a prorated basis. That was based on certified enrollment in October of '08, and that split was 54.6% of the expenses were the responsibility of Wallach U Auburn, and 45.4% were SACs, and that was determined by our host grade sharing agreement.
So that could fluctuate a little.
Sure.
This October.
Yeah. We'll look at line 7, certified enrollment. It'll probably be pretty close to that, but sure, it'll fluctuate a little bit. And we'll give you that new number once we certify our enrollment. So yeah. But our agreement specifies that that's the number, that's the line on the certified enrollment that we use to determine what that prorated basis is. SAC and Wallach U Auburn are eligible for up to 3 years of supplementary weighting for sharing. That would be for student sharing. So our 5th through 12th grade students, as well as some of those positions that we share for part-time elementary positions, that because we could do a little reduction, that sharing also generates some supplementary weighting. The districts each passed a resolution last September that I presented to you, stating that you were interested in supplementary weighting, and with that interest then came continued exploration of sharing, which could include reorganization. It doesn't mean that it has to, but it says that we're constantly looking at ways that we'll continue to share.
So are we in the first year of the 3-year
yes.
supplemental?
This school year will receive the first funding based on last year. So
okay.
we're year number 1. And it's 100% of the supplementary weighting that it generates. And then year 2, it's 80% of whatever that supplemental number is, and year 3, it's 60%. Year 2 and 3 could come 3 years from now if we choose to have them be that way. But so you don't have to take them in 3 consecutive years. The purpose of the money is to give schools some room to get themselves ready for reorganization and to increase the amount of sharing that they do. I got an email from the Department of Ed the other day that said you want to have both of your boards consider the resolution again this year. If you don't want to, you don't have to collect supplementary weighting. You could postpone your second year. If you don't think you're ready to keep moving with additional sharing and or reorganization. That's completely different than earlier legislation and laws related to how full grade sharing funding works. Okay? I'm going to keep going, and then I'll talk to you about, once the school reorganizes, what some funding issues might be. Well, incentives, not issues, I guess would be a better way to say it. An annual report of progress toward additional sharing and reorganization has been filed for both districts in July of 2008. So we passed the resolution that we would continue to look at sharing. We applied for and counted students for supplementary weighting, as well as for those functional positions, which were my position. My position was the only one last year, and we're going to add John Kraft's position and Phil Howe's position this year to the functional positions. That report that I wrote for each district goes to the School Budget Review Committee, and it's September, and their monthly meeting, they'll review any school that is asking for supplementary weighting and sharing, and I had to give them all kinds of information. Some they asked for, and then there was a section at the end of the report that just said, anything else you need to tell us to show us that you're continuing to work at always looking at how you can share. Like, it didn't give me a place to say that we're going to share a transportation director, that we've reduced a principal and are going to share a principal. So that was something I could add to show to them that the boards continue to think about what else can we share.